Good afternoon, Scott Baker.
Good afternoon, Mikey. Friday afternoon here, the 12th of September. It's time for Lead Better. That's for people who love field notes, love talking about leadership. And we're going to go into, I don't know, it's a controversial topic here for me. It's a team member repairing a damaged reputation needs to make a sacrifice of a goat.
Yeah, that's pretty controversial.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. It just stops at sacrifice. It doesn't actually say a goat, but you could.
You're funny. You know what this is about for me?
Yeah.
Not about killing goats. This is about Kylo Ren and Severus Snape. Is what all this is about.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Go on.
All right. So in the Star Wars screenwriting, right? You're analyzing what they're doing and why they made the choices that they did. Kylo Ren gets a lot of criticism, and I think deservedly so, because his redemption arc at the end, the last movie, right? The Rise of Skywalker movie, is something that's kind of made fun of more than anything.
Okay.
Because
I have seen these movies. I don't catalog all of the plot developments, and you didn't warn me ahead of time that I was going to need a chart. But go ahead.
Well, we could go back into your childhood then. Let's talk about Darth Vader instead of Kylo Ren, because the same mistake is made in the original trilogy. And by the time you get to the Last Jedi, the Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi, yes. Right.
When Darth Vader has this moment in front of the Emperor where the Emperor is torturing Luke, and you can't really see anything through Darth Vader's mask, but he has this redemptive moment where he picks the Emperor up and throws him over the top of the railing and, saves the rebellion and saves all of Luke's friends. But as a little kid, you're like, yay, the day is saved. But as you are a little bit mature in watching, you're like, yeah, there's a redemptive arc, but it came out of nowhere. Like we really didn't know.
Artificial Now I was already trying to make some notes about the application to leaders and organizations and businesses, and I was a little unclear on where the torture or the throwing over the railing part was going to enter the advice here.
Yes.
But you're more just saying that there's something needs to make sense in order for it to make sense. That's what we're starting with this? Okay.
Yes. And so, the make sense part is that the screenwriters fail in both Kylo Ren and Darth Vader. They failed to go through the initial steps of them actually verbalizing their "I'm sorry." Right?
Yes, right.
So now you've got a character who does nothing.
They're making amends, but you don't know what. Yeah.
Well, they make the sacrifice.
The sacrifice, right?
But the sacrifice almost feels like it's just kind of thrown in there as like this plot device that the story needs in order for this character to have their redemptive arc.
Yeah. Although I don't know if it's thrown in or thrown over. Right? Because
here's why it's thrown in is because you don't have the character development where you actually see the reconsideration take place. Partly because Darth Vader is wearing a mask, and so you don't really see in his eyes that he's considering one way or the other. You get a little bit of that with Ben, but even in the moment where with Ben Solo, by the way, with Kylo Ren.
We all have to be, yes.
Yeah, so you get a little bit of
on your bingo card?
I'm not sure if Kylo Ren is sad that he killed his father or not, right? And then in the moment where you're kind of convinced that he does feel bad for killing Han Solo, his dad, then you realize, he's fully gone dark side here. And then by the time you get to the last movie where you're like, Kylo Ren is awful. He's like worse than Darth Vader, right? Then he has these feelings of romantic love for Rey.
Yeah.
And then so in an attempt to like get with Rey Skywalker, now he's going to do this thing of sacrifice, and that's going to make Rey fall in love with him as well. And then there's this weird kissing scene that was underdeveloped as well, right? And so it's horrible, but the point is, you've got a few things that are mentioned in this field note of like what it takes to have a proper redemption arc. And I know that the author wasn't writing from a screenwriting point of view, But
I can assure you of that. Right.
Yeah, he hit all the marks of what a good screenwriter would do for a great redemption arc. And the best redemption arc that you can find out there, Severus Snape. Oh my word, that character is the best, right? Because all along you actually go back and you realize, I misunderstood this character all along, right?
Right.
And so
making up for very, very much so. Now, and that one's I've read the books out loud to my youngest, at least not all of them yet, but most of them. Right. So here's the question then, before we unpack that part of it, which is here we're talking about, and don't worry, we're going to get back to the torture and everything, all the other fun parts of this. But I was going to say we've all been in. I'm trying to think where I've been in an organization where somebody really betrayed the trust of everybody on the team and the organization. You've certainly seen examples of it, and maybe you have been close up to it. Come to think of it, I think I have been in some brush ups like that we could talk about. How would you make that good? How would you get your reputation back? Because the trust, it's a break of trust, and that trust breaks fast.
In most organizations, that person is let go.
Yes, correct. And too hard to rebuild it.
And if a person has enough self-awareness to be like, I really did this, I do need to apologize. My guess is that kind of person will probably resign because they don't want to have to live with that disgrace. So we're talking about kind of a unique situation of someone who has enough self-awareness to be like, I have to come clean. I have to admit it. I need to apologize properly. But then they stick around and look for a way to prove to the rest of that team that there is a redemption arc possible for them.
Yeah, if they desire it. Right. And look, then you get to an interesting question here, which is this could be, let's say you're the person. It's kind of addressed that this is about the person for whom this is true, right?
Yes.
Now, you can also look at it through the lens of an organization. How do they look at the person? But I'll get to where to me that the crux of this is. Because if you're the person, you do have to make that decision. Do I want to stay with this team, with this organization? It could be, you're on an athletic team and you let everybody down because you got a DUI the day before the big game, or something that you did that was a personal foible that caused a disruption for everybody, and they lost the championship game and couldn't go to the Super Bowl. I'm just making it up. Now, if you're in a relationship and there's been a break of trust, if you're in a business partnership and there's been a break of trust, how do you restore that if you feel like it's necessary to do that? And that's the part where the field note is saying it can't just be words. It needs to be something of a sacrifice.
Yes.
And my joke about the goat. And when you talk about that, I think the field note nicely builds it out, which is this could be extra work that you've done. It could be you take a voluntary demotion in rank or salary. It could be that dramatic, but it's something where you're clearly pointing to everybody. I know I screwed up, and I'm going to do this. And I probably, field note does it, I don't think necessarily builds this out. It may take more than just this.
Yes.
But I'm doing at least this.
No, you have to. And we're big on behaviors. Our approach to leadership development is entirely about behaviors. That this self-sacrifice is the behavioral part of being able to say you're sorry. How do you repair your reputation? All the lip service in the world is necessary, but just prerequisite for what you actually have to do. And the point here is, how are you actually going to put a behavior behind the I'm sorry part? And that is where the sacrifice comes in. You need to figure out what the sacrifice is and then actually demonstrate it. And you saying more words, if your sacrifice is some version of saying more words, you're not there yet.
It's not working. Yeah. You need to go into the severance room with the Game of Thrones goat woman and get real, right? It's going to that's what's going to have to happen.
Yes.
So now here's the question. This idea kind of has to come from you.
Oh, sure.
I don't know that it works. Now, there might be team rules, like you missed 2 practices, so you're not going to play Saturday night. Like it's just imposed as this way. But it can't be the leader saying, all right, if you want to regain our trust, I've heard of this happening in relationships or something where it's like, okay, here's how it's gonna have to look.
Yeah.
And people either semi-reluctantly or whatever. But for it to really work, it has to be something that you're volunteering to do before it's brought up by anybody else, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's what I wanted to get your impression about that.
Yeah, no, I if someone feels like they have to talk you into it, you've lost all the goodwill of what it is that you're trying to do. If it feels at all like you're doing it as a transaction in any way for the thing, then that actually makes you lose credibility too. Right. The action by itself is really important. How you symbolize the action probably has more importance to it. Because if you're doing it waving, this is going to make up for everything that I did already, right? It's not going to work that way. So you almost need to say, this is now part of my character, is to be this sacrificing individual, right?
Yes, right.
And with no transaction in sight.
Yeah. And to be very clear, since we've gone from goats to all kinds of crazy stuff here, it's not a scapegoat, right? It's not like diverting people's attention to some sort of thing that you are sending out from the tribe to take the punishment.
Such an important part. Yeah. People misuse the idea of scapegoat all the time. And so that's an important thing. If you actually do it like a scapegoat, that's not a sacrifice. It can't be something like creating scapegoats destroys your credibility as a leader who's trying to repair their relationship.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
No matter what the scapegoat is, even if it's like your favorite goat becomes your scapegoat, no, it's like that actually makes it worse.
Yeah. Now, my question is, have you, I mean, you don't have to out anybody in personal business relationships or anything, but have you seen this ever happen in the real world where it worked? Like where somebody rebuilt trust on a team, in an organization?
I'll tell you where I mentioned several weeks ago that I know of someone who got into a physical altercation with a coworker, and they were basically sent out on the road. They're not they're not in the physical location any longer. So there's the opportunity for them to have the sacrifice, except for the fact that they're still not copying to it. Like they're still not. This is, I didn't really do, I was forced out. Right. And because of that, they've lost all of the
credibility
that may have been inside of that sacrifice for them. So they've completely lost it. The element of sacrifice was there. They could have taken advantage of it. And not only not mentioning it and kind of like soldiering out on the road and doing a good job quietly over the next decade, that might do the trick. Right. But instead, they're out there kind of complaining that this is the predicament that they're in.
Yeah, I'm just doing my time trying to get back on I'm in probation, you know, and eventually my parole officer will guide me back to where I need to be.
Yeah. And they don't even realize it that they're sentencing themselves to a lifetime of probation.
It's worse, right? It's even worse, right?
Right.
So do you think then, if you were the grieved party, either team members, whatever it is, and there might be team consequences. You got to go on the road, but you really are looking for that above and beyond in order to kind of gauge whether you can begin to trust that person. It might be a whole other field note, which is how do you begin yourself? What would be the things that mentally to say, I need these things to line up for me to begin to trust? And how do you either communicate that, or does it not work at all if you do? I've certainly seen situations or had relationships where I'm like, I don't trust you anymore. I can probably cut you off. It doesn't really work if I actually even tell you I don't trust you anymore, right?
Right.
So what do you do?
You just end up building a system around yourself that recognizes that you don't trust them. Like if someone who is connected in your life constantly steals from everybody else in the family, then you do weird things inside of your house that actually make sense, right? So I've got one of those in my family, and they have a chime on their door, and I know that sounds extreme, but there's this notion in our house that everybody knows where this child is at all times. And when they open the door, a chime rings.
Right.
And it's something that when we have guests over, it's this weird thing that we explain, and sometimes we explain it in details and otherwise. But the rest of our family needs to live in comfort and peace with the idea that we're aware of where that child is.
And look, in different families, different kids, some people have all kinds of challenges and need a little extra guidance around things like this. There are things that might not be normative in a lot of other cases necessarily. So I guess here in the last minute, the main thing I want to know is, given that you immediately tracked on this one to very detailed Star Wars examples, my last question is, have you built the Millennium Falcon out of Legos?
Oh, I wish I could pick up my computer and it's hanging on my wall right there.
Yeah, see, everybody. I knew, didn't I? I knew it. Yeah.
It's a big one. This
explains a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. It normally would take about a week to build. I savored it and built it very slowly on purpose over the course of a month.
Right.
Because it was my white whale. It's like the one thing that I wanted, and I didn't want it to go. But I wish maybe I'll take a picture and throw it up. But it's right there. It's right there.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us for this edition of Lead Better.
All right. Thanks. Talk to you tomorrow.